Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please leave a glowing review with as many stars as you can put down. I'm so excited to announce I will be hosting an event at the Beacon Theater next month on June 25th. It's going to be produced by Minds. I think it's going to be called A Festival of Ideas. There's going to be a lot of really great speakers at this event. Tim Pool, James O'Keefe, Zuby. It's going to be a good mix of people from the left and the right. So I think it'll be a really fun time. Get your tickets for that, I think, at thebeacontheater.com. Plus, more stand-up dates coming out all the time. I'm going to be at this cool cigar spot up in Buffalo on July 16th. Yes, it's scrolling down below. Then I got a few more dates that I'm planning for the summer, but I will definitely be in Austin, Texas at the Cap City Comedy Club September 8th, and then September 14th, the Helium Comedy Club in Philly. Plus, I just announced I'm going to be in New Orleans September 30th and October 1st at the Comedy House, New Orleans. I just added those tickets to my website, so check them out if you're in the area. Would love to see you guys at a show and make you laugh. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Yes, guys, we've seen so many people making ridiculous money from crypto. Yes, cue that music. But did you know that it's easy for you to do the same? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't have to know anything about investing or finance or crypto. You simply just copy what he does. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which, despite heavy censorship, has over like 1 million views and 15,000 subscribers. It's pretty crazy. He's crushing it. Since March of 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 into each one, it would now be worth over $66,000. Of these 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, is currently up around 440 times from when he started. That one call alone has retired a number of men and women in their 20s and 30s, just like you viewers listening. Remember, this is all public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify this for yourself. So if this sounds interesting to you and you'd like to join the 1,300 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/Mayr. That's spelled Mayr. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners get full access for just $1. You won't find this offer anywhere else, but act fast because this is a special New Year offer and it will expire soon. That's copymycrypto.com/Mayr. Don't take this offer lightly. He's the real deal. Go visit the site now. Who knows what's happening to the dollar? I don't know. I'm scared of the economy. I'm into crypto. Yeah, copy my crypto. Okay. I have to learn to sing. But you know who's actually a great singer is today's guest. I don't know if you know her opera singing. Probably not. And I won't ask her to sing today. If she's feeling up to it, who am I to stop her? She is a content creator. She has an amazing YouTube channel. It's called Classically Abby. She's great. I'm a big fan. I'm crushing hard and a new mother. Welcome to the show, Abby Shapiro Roth. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I am honored that you have squeezed out some time from having is it still considered a newborn after 2 months?
You know, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like it should be. I've been holding my baby pretty much all day and he won't let me put him down, so I'm going to count it as like a newborn. As a newborn day.
Oh yeah. I think you should be considered a newborn until you're 30 or so. Just because some of the guys I've dated, they don't really have it all together yet. So congrats on that. I'm really enjoying your YouTube content. Like it's so wholesome and cute, and I just don't feel like we have enough of it out in the world. But I want to know first, how did you get from being an opera singer to a content creator?
Yeah, so I went to school for opera. I was surrounded by leftist ideology and leftist thought for 7 years. Not only because it's the arts, but because you're in university anyways. University starts off being already leftist, and then you throw that it's the arts on top of that, and of course that's gonna be a leftist bubble. And I am not leftist, as you can as you might imagine. And but even being surrounded by that can sort of put you into that frame of thinking. And I found that I was just looking for content that made me feel less alone in my worldview, because I believe in traditional values. I believe that getting married and having children and having a family is like the most amazing thing you can do. And I was surrounded by people who did not agree with that. And so when I met my husband and got married, I sort of realized that opera was just not going to be something that I could pursue and have everything else that I wanted, which is to be a mother and to be a wife. And right after we had met, like 2 weeks later, I went to do the Aspen Music Festival. I was away for 10 weeks, and it was the biggest
Whoa.
festival I'd ever done. It was the Aspen Music Festival is one of the best music festivals in the world, and I got to do a main role. And you would think that I would be on top of the world, and I was not. It was probably the most depressed I've ever been, because I just met my husband and was away from him immediately. And so that told me everything I needed to know, that this wasn't going to be the right career for me. And so I had to kind of think, okay, what do I want to do next? And that's when the idea of starting a YouTube channel and a blog came to me, of let's create a community for women like me, because clearly there's an audience for it. And I think that I'm looking for a place and creating a place where women can support each other, navigating how to be traditionally feminine in this crazy modern world we all live in. So that's kind of the story of how I got from A to B.
Yeah, and you're not hearing it from, like, some crusty, like, old lady, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so important to see people that kind of remind you of you, and I totally a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me, because I was very much like unlike you, I got brainwashed in college and graduated like a full-on short-haired feminist, SJW, like, all of it. So and it took me, like, several years to kind of, like, unravel myself. So that's really great that you avoided all of that. And I
Well,
had a
to be
family
fair, I did have some of that.
a little bit. It's hard to graduate with like
Yeah.
none of that getting on you. And
Mhm.
I had a
Mhm.
family friend who she was like a Juilliard cello player, and the amount of traveling that she had to do is insane. So to pursue,
Yeah.
uh, and any like that sphere of music, or like classical music, or opera, it's so much traveling. And she was so lucky that she ended up marrying her cello partner, and they just traveled around together. Yeah, they were like just working together, and he was always like the nice guy. And then she finally turned around and was like, "Oh my God, you're the guy. Like, let's get married." And now they have an adorable son. And but
Aw.
it's so much traveling. Like at one point, I think she was playing cello in like Afghanistan. I remember her mother was like my mom's best friend, and she was freaking out the whole time. And so it's really hard. Where did you go to college?
So I went to the University of Southern California, the Thornton School of Music, for my undergrad. I was really lucky to have a full scholarship there, so I didn't bankrupt myself. And then,
Wow.
yeah, and then I went from there to the Manhattan School of Music, which is, 60 blocks away from Juilliard. But
Damn. So how does that work? You're in high school, and do you just like record into your phone and send that to the college? Like, how did you know what I mean? Like that full scholarship is really impressive. That's amazing. Because most people go into
well,
like
so
mega debt over college.
crazy, crazy debt, and especially going into debt for an arts degree, it's like pretty
Ugh,
risky.
it's insulting to your parents. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I was 16 when my father, for a Hanukkah present, gave me a voice lesson. And that was when I started pursuing it seriously. And when you apply for colleges, yeah, you actually have to record videos and record sound and send them your audition tapes. And that's how I auditioned through a tape first to make it through the first round, and then I auditioned in person. And that's how it all worked out. It was really cool.
What was your audition song?
That is a good question. I think I did. So it's a Handel aria called "O Sleep, Why Dost Thou Leave Me?" And I
Okay.
did an aria from I did an aria
Like, I
from
was
Don Giovanni.
expecting for it to be a song that's, like, in my Spotify playlist, you know? Like, my audition song
Yeah.
was Smack That. Like, of course, it's something, like, classical that I've never heard of. Although I do listen to some classical music, but that's
Mhm.
awesome. That's really cool. I love that you put out a video that was really you coming out and saying, like, it's funny, it is like a coming out video, like, I am conservative, and you made it a point to, like, let that be known. Why do you think that
Mhm.
was so important to do? Because anyone who's following you can kind of surmise, what your values are.
Yeah, well, when I first started my channel, I really wasn't kind of out and out about being conservative. And you're right, I was giving across this clearly like, okay, she believes in traditional values. But so many people on the left can talk about being on the left and it's not a thing. Like they don't even worry about it. And they just mention it casually on their channel, and no one is gonna cancel them for that. And so I thought to myself, you know what? Why doesn't this exist for the right? No one's going to fire me if I come out and say I'm conservative. This is my space. This is my channel. I get to choose what I do here. So I want to make this a space where I can be open and just say, hey, I'm conservative. And hopefully that'll encourage other women to be able to say the same thing and find each other and not feel afraid. I think that I was living in fear when I was in the opera world of saying I was conservative, because you'll get blacklisted. You just won't get hired. And so I was like, well,
Wow.
I'm not in the opera world anymore. And this is death knell of my career. Let's do it. Like, I want to be in control of it. So I came out as conservative, even though people hate that I use that phrase. What's so funny about it is that at the time, it didn't even occur to me that I was like that maybe I was like stepping on someone, some group's toes. That wasn't even my intention. I just felt like I'm coming out as conservative. Like nobody says it. So that was
Yeah.
just kind of
It's
interesting.
it's not a thing that's as accepted, I think, especially in the arts world, because I totally feel that, as a comedian too. Like, I started as a very liberal comedian, like, textbook, all of the things that are also terrible about female comedians, like, probably talking about my cooch too much. Like, I was dumb. I was like a dumb 26-year-old. So, like, what did I know? But it was like a journey. And as I found I had more of my, like, political awakening, that I would like slowly lose friends, people stop talking to you. So it's a very scary to let your politics be known if you're anything but like a frothing at the mouth leftist. So,
Yeah,
did you
it's
feel
it's
like
unfortunate.
you had to really cut yourself off in conversations with, other people in the music world, or would you just try to like
Oh
redirect
my
the
gosh.
conversation?
Yeah, I did not say a word about being conservative. I mean, I remember asking my friends at the end of like our degree. We were all just talking about politics. I was like, "So where do you guys think I sit on the spectrum?" And they were like, "Well, we think you're moderate." And I was like, "Okay, well that's impressive if I didn't come up," because I would just shut my mouth and didn't say anything. And they knew I was religious. They knew I was dating for marriage. So like those things I think just that information put me left, like right of center. So that was maybe the only thing that gave it away. But it was definitely something I just shut my mouth and didn't say anything. And it was painful sometimes, because the misinformation that was being spread around that school was like ridiculous. The day after Trump was elected, people came in wearing black. People were
Oh my
mourning.
god, how
And
dramatic. And they were like, we couldn't help but notice, Abby, you're not wearing a pussy hat and you're not dressed like you're ready for a funeral. You must be conservative." Yeah.
right, exactly.
Oh, wow. So you're in college at the time that Trump won. That must have
I
been,
was in
like, pretty
my
tense.
master's.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was.
So
I
you're
mean,
s
people
yeah.
were sitting in the dorm kind of like living space, and they were watching debates. It was fascinating.
It's like really insane how important college students really think they are. Like their opinion usually, I don't know. It's just like it's probably not going to affect you. Like what difference does it really make who's president? Like you still have to study, you still have to pass your exams, you still have to like try to find a job. I think it's just it
Well,
can
I
be like
think
a
even
big
more than that,
distraction.
it's that, yeah, more than that, I think it's that they're not actually informed. It's very easy to just get your information from the media, which is never going, like the basic media, and not actually do any of your own research, and then just have an echo chamber of all of your other friends who all agree with you. So they don't actually know what they're talking about, and so they think that they're very well informed because they read the Wall Street, or rather the New York Times,
Oh
and
yeah.
they watched CNN that morning. But no, like you might feel good about yourself, but do you really know anything that's going on?
Like, I memorized some headlines. Yeah, I had an art history professor, like the most useless of the areas of study, but you go on and on. Oh, if you're not reading the New York Times, like you're trash. And I don't know. Yeah. So if you were going to pursue, like, what jobs can people, like, can professional opera singers actually get? Is it either like basically Broadway or, I mean, birthday parties? Like, I feel like
So
there's just
yeah,
like, it's limited.
so opera singers, there's like a few different things you can do. You can apply. It's a very long process. So most of us go to get our masters and then we kind of postpone by getting degrees.
Like lawyers do, just getting
And
like law school and yeah, just keep going.
you can apply to do a young artist program at an opera house, and doing that another way to just be settled in one place for a couple of years, which is a nice thing. And most of the time, you don't get that opportunity. And it's basically an apprenticeship at an opera house, where you get to do performances, you perform roles, and you build up your resume. And then you hope and cross your fingers that you will be picked up by an agency or get a manager, and they will find you roles around. But then you're traveling all the time for 6 weeks at a time to do these performances. And otherwise, you would, if you want to, then you would be in the chorus of an opera house that pays well. So essentially, the Metropolitan Opera House, which pays like over $100,000 to their people, which is fantastic. I mean, if you want to make a good living and be in one place, that's the place to be. But a lot of singers don't really want to do chorus work; they want to be doing the main roles. So
And also,
it's
can't they say to you, like, don't go out and do karaoke on the weekends? Like, do they tell you like what you can and can't do with, like, no yelling, no loud concerts? Like, do they tell
they,
you?
as a singer, you have to make those judgment calls for yourself, because if you mess up your voice the next day, you're not going to be in rehearsal. You're going to have to be on voice rest. It's a whole thing. I have gone weeks, or rather, I think I went a whole week without saying a word. Like you will do,
Wow.
it's called voice rest. Yeah. Where you just literally do not speak because you're carrying your instrument around with you all the time. So the only way to do that is to rest your voice, which means you're not allowed to talk. So you'll carry around a whiteboard or you'll text people. It is intense. It's an intense lifestyle.
Like, you could get one of those, like, Stephen Hawking motorized, like, wheelchairs, and you're just, like, typing out, and then it speaks for you. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
That's so interesting. Is it true that, like, dairy is bad for your voice?
Depending on who you are, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's not bad for your voice. It's just it causes phlegm. There's a whole host of this stuff that you become a wise woman when you're taking care of your body like this. So
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, that's
an
so cool.
athlete, but for your voice.
True, true. What movie was it? Was it, Pitch Perfect where, like, one of the girls was like, "I have notes," and everyone's like, I love those movies. I'm obsessed with Pitch Perfect. It's, like, a little embarrassing to admit, but, like, it's just good feel-good movies. So,
Yeah,
but I
that's a
love so
funny
much what
movie too.
I love so much what you're doing, and I agree that there is kind of a lack of a community for, like, women that are more just like basically like non-leftist women. And I just wonder why that is. I wonder if
I
it's because
mean,
like the left just has such a control over the culture generally.
yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. I think that there's just if they can make you feel alone, then that they've accomplished their goal, which is what they've done. If they can make you feel like you're the only one who believes this or thinks a certain way, then it is so easy to get. I talk about this literally, I think ad nauseum. I think people are probably sick of hearing it, but the most powerful thing that will make you like change your mind is loneliness. I think if you are alone, then you will do anything to avoid it. And so you will change your mind. You will change your mind. So I can imagine while you were at college, you left an SJW probably because everyone around you was spouting that
Mhm.
information. And
All
if you
my
were to
roommates. Yeah.
yes, 100%. And especially at college when you're supposed to be having like this great time and partying and woohoo. Like
Yeah.
if you're supposed to be having that great time and you're not, you're like, well, I better just do what I can to fit in. And then I guess I'll have a great time. But you kind of feel like disgusting in the morning.
Yeah, there was this big huge van that we were gonna drive to, like, God, some military base that we drove from Connecticut because I went to Fairfield in Connecticut, and I was like, "Oh, all these SJWs, we're getting in a van, and we're driving to this, like, military base to," I think, what were we protesting? The School of the Americas? I don't even remember what it was about, but I remember that there were gonna be a couple boys on the trip, and then, like, all my girlfriends and, roommates, and I was like, "Well, I guess I'm an SJW now. Let's do it. Like, hand me the flag. Whatever I have to be, like, I'm on board."
Yeah, yeah,
And I
exactly.
and I think about this a lot. I think this is like maybe just part of like getting older and wiser, but and I look at your content, which is so great, I just think there's so much fighting against it. Like there are how it's like how do we and I'm not trying to like control women or young women. And it's like I think when women get older and they start talking about like, well, you should do this, like they come off preachy. And I'm just thinking like there are so many forces kind of going against conservative values and traditional values because like you look at like all the ways I think young girls in particular get validation. It kind of is through their, especially with social media. Like, holy shit! Like, I'm so lucky I didn't have social media growing up because like I had a crazy low self esteem until like literally yesterday, and I just like all the ways in which young women get their validation. It's like it's likes, it's comparing how they look, how many likes their friends are getting versus them. It's like all the filters. It's so much of it is looks based, and then you look at the culture and the music and like hip hop, and that is all about sexuality, and like that's the quick way you can get validation and grab a guy's attention. And it's like there are so many forces tipping you to kind of like the dark side and like to sell yourself short. And like you learn as you get older, yeah, you can look back and go, okay, yeah, that's a quick way to get attention, but it's very fleeting and you're not building anything with anybody and you're not building anything with yourself. So you ultimately learn, but it's like, how do we get that message to like young women without looking preachy and like we're anti-fun,
I'm sure that people think that I'm preachy and anti-fun, but I think,
Oh,
but I don't mind. I think that at the end of the day, if you're being honest, but you're being like kind, then people will eventually get to the point where they can see, well, I like what she's saying, how it makes me feel more than these women who are telling me you do you and find empowerment by taking off all my clothes and having sex before marriage with people who I don't care about. Like, the best time to catch someone and convince them is the morning after they've made a mistake. And so
yes. Oh, those moments of clarity when you're just picking off your clothes from the floor and you're like, ah, you know what? I can't find
so
my other sock. Leave it, go. Yeah.
so I'm always hoping that somebody might take a second in that aftermath and think to themselves, well, instead of like, well, something must be wrong with me if I don't feel great about myself after selling myself short, that they'll maybe take a second and Google it and maybe they'll come across my content and be like, oh, maybe this isn't the path to happiness and fulfillment and meaning. There's just so much out there that tells you happiness is the goal, and happiness can be a moment of pleasure, but it's followed by all of these other terrible emotions that don't make you happy. Whereas if you look for meaning and fulfillment, then happiness may not be every moment, but there's a much better like evenness to your happiness. And I think that that's much better than riding a roller coaster of, oh, I had a very pleasurable moment and now I feel like a terrible person. Like it's just never worth it in my experience. And the highest high I think is, in my opinion, is getting married and then having that baby and holding your child. Like there's so many more highs to be had when you do like look into the future and make choices that will build on each other for your benefit, as opposed to the kind of fleeting highs that you get when nothing actually matters.
Yeah, it's like a steady build over time, and like it might level off, but you're not gonna have like one night stand lows like you would when you're actually building a future with a partner. Of course, like all of
Yes.
this, you still have to have like really good communication. It's not just like marrying any old person is the answer. But
No, no.
yeah, that's something I've learned, like, as you become an adult, like, and I don't know, like, what your parents were like, but mine, it was very hard to kind of, like, have them be the example of marriage, and it made me for years want to avoid it because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, marriage is people taking each other for granted, yelling about money," and as a kid, you, like, take that in and you're like, "Oh my god, all I'm doing is costing these people money and, like, what a drag," you know?
No,
But
I'm
as an
very,
adult
very lucky and blessed that
yeah.
I had a very good example in my parents, and they always, always encouraged us that marriage, like who you marry, is the most important decision you'll ever make, and it's also what you should be geared towards because it's going to make it. I mean, in my experience, getting married is a lovely thing because you can grow together as a team, and you don't always have to be like in the back of your mind going, well, I have like a 10-year plan, but if I meet the right guy, maybe that 10-year plan goes out the window. You can start that 10-year plan with your partner, and it's a little easier to like envision.
Yeah, you have to stop thinking of it. When I stopped thinking of marriage as like someone locking you down and trapping you and telling you what to do all the time and controlling you. When I shifted it from that to like, no, this is somebody who has the same values as you. And like you're literally like you're a team, you're growing, your goals align, you're building each other up. It really is. It sounds like corny, but like it is more like a best friend. And I just didn't think that was possible because I'm like, oh my parents like they can't wait to get away from each other. So
Well, it's also not your
that's
fault because we live in the era post women's lib, and they want you to think that marriage is a prison so that they can break down the societal things that have allowed civilizations to flourish. Uh, and
yeah,
that
and just
starts with marriage and the family.
how trendy it was to like just like berate your guy like that. And that's something my mom and all her girlfriends would do. They would just like shit on their men behind their back, in front of their faces, like and then you become an adult. And I'm like, how did mom not know about this? Like this very you know what I mean? Like there's the ways that you build up a man and make him feel manly and useful and good and helpful and purposeful, and you can tear someone down just as easily as you can build them up. And now I look back, I'm
100%.
like, oh, she wasn't getting what she needed. She was insecure about stuff. Um, but it's just really
Yeah.
cool that you had a good example growing
Yeah. I'm
up.
very blessed.
How did you meet what's his name? Your husband? Don't tell me. I researched you. Jacob?
Jacob, there you go.
Okay.
So that's kind of a funny story. I was set up with a different guy, like a few years before. We were set up on a date, and he called me in advance before the date just to see if, like, oh, is this a good idea? And he said, he asked what I did, and I asked what he did, and he said he was a philosophy major, and I said, thank you so much. I will be going out with you. And
You didn't say, "Oh, get ready for unemployment because you're a philosophy major." Yeah.
well,
Aw.
I wouldn't have much of a leg to stand on given that I was in opera. So,
Oh, true.
but I did say, I'm not interested. I don't philosophy. I hate philosophy majors. I don't like that they feel like they can have a conversation that has no point for hours and hours on.
Yeah.
And so But we ended up becoming friends as opposed, like, just not dating. We went out and just got together as friends. And then a couple of years later, he met my husband while they were at law school together. And he tried to set us up for like a year, but didn't really tell either one of us that was his plan. So that summer, after like a year of them knowing each other, I was staying with him during the summer in New York. And my husband is from New York. So he was going into New York while I was about to leave. And this friend made me miss my train twice so that we could overlap.
This is a movie, Abby. This could be a movie.
It was pretty crazy. I actually fainted the day that my husband and I met. So
who even faints anymore? Did you drop a handkerchief? Oh my God, you're so classy.
No, I never thought I would faint, and that was hilarious. I was getting my ear pierced. I decided to get a second piercing, and
the cartilage.
Yeah.
Yep. I had that done. Woo! It's so. Did they use the gun or the needle for you?
No, a needle.
Yeah, same with me. Could you hear like the crunching? Could you hear it like crunching through your cartilage? Oh, me too. Yeah, that was like my badass like freshman year. I went and like got that done with my gay best friend.
Yeah.
Sure
so
he's still gay. Yeah.
So he the guy poked my ear, and I said, "Ooh, I'm feeling kind of nauseous. I think I'm going to put my head between my knees." And they said, we recommend you leaning back." I woke up and they were like, "Yeah, so we knew you were about to pass out because that's what people do. And we didn't want you leaning forward because you would have fallen out of the chair. Have a sugar pill."
Wow.
So I missed my train twice. And then my husband was, for some reason, game to come into the city at like 11 p.m. Just random. And we ended up meeting, and then we talked for 2 weeks. That weekend, it was Memorial Day weekend. We, the three of us, were going to go to Charlottesville, which is where my husband was at school. And that weekend, I told him I wasn't interested in dating him. And by the end of that weekend, we were boyfriend and girlfriend. So,
wow. So what changed?
So I had a lot of bad experiences dating guys in New York, just two particularly very, very bad experiences. And so I had come out.
Were they comedians?
Scarred. They weren't.
Okay, because that'll do it. Yeah.
But I had built up all of these walls. And so my husband, being really sweet and kind to me, I was like, "What do you want from me?" And he and I had a full conversation about that. I cried. And then he responded to every single one of my concerns, which showed me that he had listened. And he wanted to date me enough to work through this, through that. And so by the end of that conversation, I was like, "Okay, fine, we should date."
So you were dating long distance. He was in New York and you were still in California?
So I was in New York at the time. He was in Virginia. So we were long distance, but New York and Virginia. And we dated for 5.5 months, got engaged, and then got married one day under a year from when we started dating.
Okay. Did you live together at all before you were married, or?
Nope.
And are you a little against that?
Yeah. Not like in a judgmental way, more in like I don't think it's going to be as effective as you want it to be way.
Is it because, do you believe that if you live with like a boyfriend before marriage, that there's less of a motivation to make it work? Because you can just like fail and break up.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a few levels of things, right? First of all, as far as I remember, I need to find the actual statistic, but statistically, I'm pretty sure that there are more divorces if you live together before you're married than if you don't. Now that could be the demographic that chooses not to live together before they're married, is a demographic that also wouldn't get divorced. That could be part of the reason, but I'd have to look into it. But at the end of the day, there's an important like difference between getting married and dating. And I like that there's this separation where in your head, the flick switches, right? The flick switches. And and or the switch flicks, I can't, whatever it is, and you're able to say, well, this is different now. Like the wedding isn't just a party that says, okay, we signed a paper and now I guess nothing has changed. It's, oh, our lives are now totally changed. We've committed to each other. We live in the same home. We now know that like our bank accounts are probably going to be shared. Everything that was before is now ours together, as opposed to when you live together, there's like the differentiation is just not very clear. It's very fuzzy. So that's one thing I think is actually really nice about the not living together before you get married. Now, I understand the argument for, oh, you can see how you guys work together when you live together before you get married. But I think, in my opinion, there shouldn't be a get out of jail free card when you are living together because things are hard. When you get married, there is no get out of jail free card. You say, this is going to be hard. We're roommates. Maybe we're not super compatible.
And there's no leaving. No, I like just using jail as the metaphor. No, it's a jail, but a happy jail. Yeah.
Well, Jordan Peterson says something that I think kind of falls under that, which is like, it's important to not have a get out of jail free card, because then you both know that the other person isn't going to leave you. And so you aren't afraid to be honest and open and say something that maybe the other person won't like, because they've made this choice that they're going to stay. And when you are, when you live together after you get married, those roommate problems, you have to figure out. There's no other way. You just have to figure them out. And I've said this before, but the first year of marriage, people, if you haven't lived together, is the hardest. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, you're adjusting to each other. You're figuring each other out. You're figuring out what this is going to look like. And that's okay. But now you know that that person's not going to like take a step away just because, oh, I threw my clothes next to the hamper, not in it.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, on top of the chair. Well, they're not fully dirty. I could maybe wear them again. Not like I do that or anything. But do you and your husband like split things, or did you find you were doing more basically like chores and like traditionally like female activities, like, but then it changed a little bit when you had your son, or do you feel like you're still kind of doing most of it?
So before I had my son, I was doing more of the household chores, which worked out well because I work from home and my husband doesn't. So he could, go to work and I was able to take care of stuff. I also say like that stuff bothers me more than it bothers him. And so he could try to tidy up, but he's not going to see the mess that I see. And so
they don't see it. Why can't they see it, Abby? What's going on?
It is. It's like an eye blindness. I'm like, oh, not every open surface is a shelf. And
yeah,
that's, but after we had the baby, it's been really amazing. My husband decided, he was like, I'm going to cook. And my husband never does anything half-heartedly. And so he's been reading books and he's been doing like incredible recipes. And I'm, I cook, but I don't do that. I'm like, follow a recipe. That's great. He's like, I'm going to make something up. And then he makes something incredible. I'm like, okay, fine. You can be good at everything, whatever.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. When my boyfriend and I moved together, I couldn't really cook, but I can clean. And he was so good. He just started watching YouTube videos and like taught himself so much. And now he's so good. Awesome. Like he can just like throw steaks on. I'll get there one day. I'll learn to cook one day for sure. No, but that's pretty cool. And you're moving to Florida. That's exciting. Gonna go be with the rest of the free people. I'm a little jealous.
We're very much looking forward to that. Yeah. We're excited to be. Yeah,
your family's down there. Yeah.
Family and community.
Does Ben live down there? Or is he based in Nashville because of the Daily Wire?
No, he's in Florida too.
Oh, he's in Florida. Okay. That's awesome. Do you feel like you would get a lot of advice from him as you were starting your content creator career? Like, are you guys close?
No, we are close. And he was very, very helpful at the beginning. And still, I call him and ask him advice or ask him like, what should I title this video? That kind of thing. But my whole family's really close. I'm actually so excited because I'm moving down there. My sister's moving down there. My dad and my mom are already there. My brother's there. Wow. So most of my family is going to be down there, which is really cool. And yeah, he's been great. It's nice to have somebody who's already doing this kind of thing, like who I can ask questions.
What do you think are the biggest like positive impact and negative impact for having Ben as your brother?
Well, negative would just be that there's a lot of hatred directed my way that is not because people have ever watched my content. They just know that I'm his sister. So, I mean, there's like a whole host of trolls that just know me as Ben's sister. And that is like not great because if you want to troll me because you've seen what I'm doing, more power to you.
Yeah, at
But
least
if you
watch
want
one video, like troll my breast milk video, at least know what you're saying. Yeah.
But if you're gonna like troll me because you've seen a meme of me, it's just less entertaining. As far as the positives, I get to, let's think. I mean, I can go to him for advice. Like that's really, really awesome. And I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people kind of behind the scenes just because he knows a lot of people. So I think I'm in circles that I might not have been in had he not been my brother, which is really nice. Like, I don't think most conservatives would have known who I was, even though I am like openly conservative. I'm on YouTube and there's not really a huge space for conservatives on YouTube. Like they might have a platform on YouTube, but it's not like
they're not going to blow up.
Main stuff is. Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're like, I gotta eat a pancake the size of my body. Like the videos that do really well on YouTube, it's like, either you're very liberal or it's like Mr. Beast stuff where he's like, I don't know, skateboarding down a mountain or like whatever the fuck he does. I'm just like, I don't understand why this is so popular. I'm like, the kids are into it.
Yeah, it's like TikTok or something. I don't know.
Fucking TikTok, man. I'm always like, well, Trump told me to get off, so I got off and I haven't been back since. Okay, wait, we got a couple of super chats from Joey Jojo. Abigail is a great woman, makes nice videos, great singer. I know she's going to be a great mother. Oh, wow. Thanks, Joey Jojo. Pepsi Man, hearts and cups of milk. Maybe he saw your video about breastfeeding. Exploding Prinny, great merciful milkers. All right, some of these super chats, I had a feeling these were gonna get a little. Let's see, Mr. V, be honest with us. Brett Cooper is just Ben Shapiro in drag, right? Oh, I like
Brett Cooper. Really look like she really does look like my brother though. Like people have said that we look the same, me and my brother, and we do. But I when I saw a picture of Brett Cooper for the first time, I was like, nah, like she looks like him.
Yeah. Like you have to call your parents, be like, is there something you weren't telling me about? Yeah, she's super cool. I really want to get her on the show too. Matthew Hammond, how are holidays with Ben? Does he talk about how great the Daily Wire is doing and how he crushed some uninformed liberals? Does he talk fast to you?
He talks the way he talks. So that's number one. Number two is holidays with Ben are great. They're fun. It's my whole family together. So that's really nice. And I mean, we don't really talk shop during the holidays. So like we might a little bit, but it's not
so
like
healthy.
The main topic of conversation.
Is everybody basically on the same side politics wise, or do you have any like one random, like liberal relative that you have to like put at their own kids table? Okay.
We're all pretty much on the same page, which is nice. It makes things easy.
Okay, that's awesome. Oh, wow. Thank you, Joshua Anderson. I've been watching you for about a couple months. Found you and Nina on Friday Night Tights, and y'all are very funny. Hope to see you live one day. Oh, I thought that was going to be a question for you. Thanks, Joshua. Matthew Hammond, who convinced the last couple of generations of women against marriage and children? Yeah, I was seeing a lot of comments in the chat about that this is typically a kind of like a boomer mentality. And I've listened to Kevin Samuels talk about this a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's known for mostly giving advice to like women like the Black community more so. I mean, he died recently, which is so crazy because he was like relatively young.
Wow.
But he he would say a lot that like boomers raised women to be single mothers, and there's this idea that like you don't need a man, especially with my own mom. Like you get your happiness like outside or around, whatever guy you're with. But I was just like, man, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, this is a long question that could go on for way too long. So I will keep it a little short. Christina Hoff Sommers' book, which is called Who Stole Feminism, is a really good place to start with this stuff. But she talks about gender feminism. And basically what gender feminism is the idea that women are born victims and men are born oppressors. And there's nothing you can do that can change that. Like no matter how successful you are as a woman, it doesn't matter. You are still a victim because you're a woman. That's going to obviously mean that if you were to get married and have children, your husband would be oppressing you and you would be a victim of the patriarchy. So all of these women have been taught that they are victims and that they shouldn't get married, they shouldn't have children, because the only way to prove your worth is to be a man by going out of the home and getting a job. Now, I'm not against women getting jobs. I've said this so often that women really can work. I have no issue with that. But I believe that the place that women are going to find their purpose and fulfillment more than anything else is by being mothers and being wives. And those two things are really important to finding meaning and fulfillment. It's innate. We're made to bear children and mother them, and it's a beautiful thing. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be at home, but it does mean that if you were to eschew that in favor of just going out and getting a career and leaving behind all of this other stuff, you would not feel happy at the end of the day. You would not feel like you'd found your purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I'll say that too. Like, go out, get a job, see how much it sucks. just be like, wow, my parents spent all this money for me to have a degree so I can make copies for an old man who doesn't appreciate what I do. Yeah, go do that. And it's like, exactly. And I have to remember that I'm gonna tell Frank, like, it's in my nature to buy too many candles. It's not my fault. I'm nesting. Russell Hall, how many jumping jacks can you do? Bet you can't do 20. Now this is a trap. This is a trap, Abby. We're not falling for it.
I figure.
It's one of my fans. But Young Pei Chang, happy hump day, guys. Happy hump day to my one Asian fan. Joshua Anderson, Ben's real sister is Brett Cooper. Just kidding. Love Abby. She sounds so cool. She is cool. Thanks, Joshua. K-Max. For Abby, do you tend to share all of your brother's political beliefs or disagree on a few? Is there an issue you least align on?
It's a good question. People ask me these kinds of questions a lot, and I'm like, I don't know every single thing my brother believes. So I'm not sitting there like, yeah, well, today we disagree on this and like check mark.
Yeah. Ask Ben what he thinks about this. Like, I'm sure you're getting a lot of people that are like trying to get to him through you, which probably is annoying.
It happens. And I understand it, at the end of the day, I would say like 99% of stuff we agree on. But the thing to keep in mind, I think, and the most important thing to keep in mind is that my space is cultural. I talk about the culture. I talk about like family and how you should take these values and live them out. My brother's space is generally more political, like what's going on in the news today. And so that's just different. The things that we're passionate about are different. I'm much, much more passionate about talking about your dating life and relationships and how you can improve yourself and make your life better for you, as opposed to, I don't know necessarily what's going on in this part of the world right now because of politics, especially now that I have a baby. Probably have no idea what's going on.
And your baby's like, well, what do you really feel about the Ukraine? Like, that's not, he's never going to ask you about that. Russell Hall, don't ignore the elephants in the room, Chrissy. Okay. Fat Master, mommy. Sorry. All right. Some of you guys are being fun. K-Max, since you live in Florida now. Well, I don't think you live in Florida yet. Now, is the family on the DeSantis train in 2024? Or would you rather the Trump run again?
So I'm not going to speak on behalf of my family. I can speak on my own behalf. I will, and again, I'm not like the politics side of things. So what I'll say is I really like DeSantis. He's really an amazing governor, and he's done some
He's
amazing things
cute.
in Florida.
People don't talk about how cute he
His
is enough.
family is really cute too.
Yeah.
Like his wife is beautiful, and he's got a really
Oh,
cute family.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
look this
really
up now.
beautiful. And my only sadness if he ran would be that he wouldn't be the governor of Florida anymore. So that's my thought.
Yeah, that is what a lot of people are saying. I'm hearing more that he will more likely run in 28.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. Who knows? Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Maximus, what do y'all think the aspirational archetype for women is? For guys, it's simple. Our job is to make problems into not problems. Knight or a king doesn't matter as long as we've a clear goal. Ooh. I
Do you want to
think
go
it's
first, or should I?
I think just in my I'm clearly very young still, as you can see. No, but I would say, God, don't really try to figure out what makes you happy and don't get caught up in what you feel like you should be doing, whether that's from your parents or your friend group or society. Like really try to like listen to your own voice, which is hard to do when we're inundated with messages and kind of brainwashing all the time. And I think like that can help you avoid like some years of unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a while,
For
I
me,
think.
yeah, I think it's hard to build up the confidence.
Yeah.
For as far as what I think the aspirational archetype for women is, I guess if we're saying archetype, I guess it would be mother, but not in the terms of like, oh, you have to be a mom right now, go have a baby, but just like the vision we have of a great mother. I always talk about for the way to embrace femininity, one of the ways to embrace femininity is gentle guidance. And the idea that like stop being, if you're going to just be loud and annoying and blast out what you think at all times just to bother people, like people aren't going to listen to you or hear what you have to say. But if you are thinking more as someone who, like a mother with more of like a gentle guidance kind of hand and saying like, let me just show you, or let me just explain why I'm feeling this way, or why you could do this better or something in a gentle way, it's so much more effective. And not only will you have people hear what you're saying, you'll get more of what you want because theoretically you're convincing people to do things that you prefer.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of women's superpower, I think a strength of mine too is like being able to like nurture. You don't necessarily have to be a mom to like nurture those
Exactly.
around you and like yeah, listening, exactly what you're saying, guidance, like helping people through their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Mm-hmm.
but also watching that like you don't take on other people's, problems and be like too much of an empath and gotta take care
Something
of yourself
I
too.
learned once, which I absolutely love, is this idea of like your, for empaths, because I feel the same way sometimes, is this idea that like you're sheathed in like a cover, let's say, and there's this feeling of when somebody's sharing their problems with you, you're letting through that shield all the love that they have for you, that they're willing to share with you, that they like want to tell you their feelings, because often people don't feel comfortable confiding. So if they're confiding in you, what you're taking in from that and allowing to like wash over you is that they love you enough to share it with you, but their
Ooh,
problems bounce off of that shield so that you're able to actually help them, as opposed to getting too stressed by their issues that you can't actually be useful.
that is such a good thing to keep in mind because I find like, yeah, I have the tendency to like, if someone is so bummed out or depressed or like really, and it's like usually like just a few people in my family who do this, like I will it's so easy for me to like get down there with them. And it's like, you don't have to go there. Like, you don't have to like
Mm-hmm.
take everyone's problems on like a sweater. That's a good
Exactly.
that's a good thing to remember though. Premium Nick. Hey Abby, super happy you made it here. Brains and beauty indeed. How do you feel knowing Brett Cooper looks like Ben? P.S. Chrissy, please get Brett Cooper on our okay. We all love Brett Cooper. I think we covered this a little bit.
I think she looks
Yeah.
like Ben. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you guys want to see them duke it out? Do you have any particularly cringy simp stories?
It's a
I can't imagine
funny
what your DMs
question.
must look like, Abby. They must be out of
Yeah, I
control.
ignore them. Yeah, I ignore them at this point. I mean, this simp stories would just be people on the internet writing publicly like their thoughts, but they're all hidden behind, troll pictures. So sad for them that that's what they're for, but that's kind of it. I don't have any, obviously, I've never met one of these people in person, thank God. So it's all happening online. And if you want to see them, feel free to look in my comment section.
My God, yeah, people like are obsessed with your boobs, and for me, I feel like that came about more so when you were pregnant, because like when you're pregnant, your boobs get bigger. But like, I don't know,
Mhm.
like when did this start? How do you deal with it?
Yeah. So this all started. I mean, I guess this would be the an answer to like one of the bad things about being Ben's sister was that I when I was in my master's program, I had posted a few videos on YouTube only as audition tapes. Like you have to send them to people as audition tapes, and so they have to be available for them to be seen. So you have to put them on YouTube for them to be available. So a couple of alt-right trolls found them, and they spread them around. And then all of a sudden, it was like, "This is Ben Shapiro's sister," and I was wearing a shirt. It was not particularly
How dare you wear a
anything.
shirt?
It was,
Yeah.
I know. How could I? And then it became like this meme. And so I was like totally shocked and taken off guard because I had not put out any of this for public consumption. And Reddit, no, not Reddit, 4chan was like filled with these videos and pictures of like women with my face put on top. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. This seems pretty crazy.
It is crazy. As someone who also had nudes faked of them, I can understand 100%. I think it was someone took Lauren Phillips's body because she's also a redhead, and she had this huge tattoo along her torso, and I had taken a picture of myself like at my day job at the time in the gym there, and I just sort of like had my shirt up, and I was like, all right, I'm getting back into working out. I kind of want to lose this like little muffin top. And like I should have known, like, like I definitely wasn't trying to be sexy. I was trying to be like, "Meh, it's like I have a little belly."
Right.
But I should have known what the internet would do with such a picture. And yeah, they just kind of like, they CG not CGI. They put her tattoo on my torso when I had that like shirt up picture, and then it was another one just like flat out like a still from a porn with my face on it, and I was like, I'm flattered. She's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, but yeah, no, not me. So you're not alone there.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was not the best thing. And I had just well, I was about 4 months into dating my husband. I'm very glad that he was around at the time because I
Ugh.
could just be like, what's going on? And he was like, this is ridiculous. Like, don't take it too seriously. It's just alt-right trolls being trolls. Like, don't worry. He was very cool and calm about it, which I really, really appreciated.
That is really cool. Yeah, there was one photo. It was like me in a bathing suit, and somebody like drew someone else's boobs onto my body, and then like my boyfriend was like, I thought this was you for a second. I was like, oh fuck, and I felt horrible that he was put through that. But it's
Yeah.
good that like your husband was like, I don't think this is you out the gate. But yeah, the
Yeah.
internet gonna internet, and yeah, they just they can't help themselves with a pretty lady. From Joshua Anderson, culture is just as important as any political aspect. I'm def following her now. Yeah, new fans for Abby. Premium Nick, Abby, do you watch? Do you watch Brett Cooper's show? The comments section. I watch
Thank
her
you.
show. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
I'll be honest, no, but it's not because I have anything against her. It's just that I've been watching a 10-week-old.
Oh
So that's
yeah.
pretty much why.
I'm amazed he hasn't. I've been expecting him to cry like any minute now. He's just being a good baby. Did you put a little like on air sign over his crib so he knows like?
Yeah,
so
I
that he's
probably should
prepared?
head off soon, just in case. He's a little bit
Okay. Yeah, we're wrapping up. Just a couple more.
he's a little bit far off the way.
Okay, from front porch. Abby, glad to learn more about you and your backstory as a mom. Do you feel that government laws help or hurt families that want one of the parents to be at home with the kids? What would change to improve this? I feel like the government
Yeah, so I've
generally
been
encourages,
trying,
yeah.
this is something I want to do more research on before I like heavily comment, because I do think that there's some things that I need to know more about. My first impulse is to say, okay, I don't love government involvement. I think that government involvement usually does not help things. That's my first impulse. But I also don't know kind of if there are certain things that we can implement that would help with, having the mom stay at home more or whatever else it is. But whenever you're talking about the government getting involved, I'm a little bit on edge because I'm like, how is that going to work? I don't really trust them. So let's see. let's think about this
Yeah.
before we just jump in.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something I was wondering about. Why haven't you been given your own Daily Wire show yet? Like, would you be interested if you were offered any kind of a show? Wait, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're sort of breaking up a little bit, but
Okay.
that's just because I haven't we're not affiliated, just because Ben is my brother doesn't necessarily mean that I like am all behind the scenes at Daily Wire. I don't really know much about anything that's going on there. It's his thing and this is my thing, and that's really it. And to be fair, Daily Wire isn't really like culture like what I do, like YouTube talking about like
True.
dating. Like
It's
that's not really
mostly
their
news
thing.
and politics. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
it's mostly politics. So
Abby, I know you have to scram. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. Where can people find you and follow you? I know you have a Substack, classicallyabby.substack.com. Where else can people follow you?
yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. It's everywhere. It's at Classically Abby. Very simple. And my Substack is where all of my awesome content is, because that's where I do my weekly articles. I have a podcast. I do a monthly book club, which is a Zoom call. So we all get to talk to each other, and which is really cool. And I also have discussion threads where everyone can comments and we all talk to each other. And we're building like a really cool community of women over there. It's really cool.
That sounds awesome, and also motivates you to finish a book inside of a month, which I have trouble with.
Yes.
I'll start one,
Yes.
I'll stop in the middle, I'll start a new one. Yeah. So that sounds really cool. Abby, thank you so much for coming on. It was so great to talk to you. Thank you guys in the chat for not being as disgusting as I expected. You behaved somewhat, but no, you don't get an A+ from me. Yeah, Abby, if you want to,
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to get to a couple more of these super chats, but you're free to go to your baby. Go to your baby.
I'm going to go to
Thanks,
him.
Abby. Thanks, Abby. Bye. Okay. From K-Max, is Abby a fan of Christina Hoff Sommers? She has been standing up to more insane feminists. Yeah, she is. I'm definitely going to get that book, Who Stole Feminism book that she recommended. Deranged Lunatic Chrissie, you need to get Abby on Simcast. I would love to get her on Simcast. I will see if she can do that. Exploding Prinny, we should get Brett to date one of Ben's friends. Then we can remake that Seinfeld episode. And thank you, Keith Levitt, for the super sticker. Well, that was Abby Shapiro Roth. Chat report card. Yeah, we're gonna rate the chat a double D. You were okay. Some of you were a little gross. You know who you are. But yeah, I'm a big fan. Thank you guys so much for checking out my interview with Abby Shapiro Roth. Thank you for your comments and chats and questions. Until next time, bye.